So glad you're with us on the Allon Exchange. Brad Johansson with Jay and Brittany Hagy. We're glad you're here. I'm glad to be back with you guys. How you doing?
Good to see you too,
Doing
Brad.
well. Glad that we're back here together.
How are we feeling?
We're feeling good. We're feeling like this is a fast-paced year already.
Already?
Yeah, so we're moving. There's a lot going on. You know, we have kids in sports and everything else going on. So
Shoot, once you have kids in sports, it changes everything, doesn't it?
It's a total game changer.
The whole schedule depends on kids in sports. Youth sports isn't like when we were growing up in the early time.
That's right.
Now it's go, go, go. So I ask you how you're feeling, because if you're okay, I want to kind of focus on a feeling show today.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because we have feelings about our money, whether we like to believe it or not. We base some of our financial decisions, if not all of them, on how we're feeling, and that goes day to day. So let's get into this feeling mindset of financial. Is it more dangerous than it is positive for us to be doing that, Jay?
You know, even Proverbs says, as a man thinks, so is he. You know, I mean, it all starts with our mindset. It all starts with how we think, because, and we talk about money because that tends to be what we work with, right? But it's in every area of our life.
Sure.
But our behavior follows our beliefs. But that's where it starts. So, but as our behavior follows our belief, it drives the things that we do. It drives our actions, which ends up giving us a result, whether that's positive or negative, right? So if I believe that eating better will cause me to be healthy, and I start thinking that way and I eat well, and I've tried to be doing that recently, right? But I start eating better, then eventually it's going to produce, I believe, a healthier outcome with my body, right? The same way with our finances or anything else that we're in. Our behavior will follow our beliefs, it drives our actions, and then it produces results for us.
Well, and here's why that matters when it comes to our money. Because the way we feel impacts how we invest, impacts how we spend, impacts how we save. All of our financial decisions stem from the way we think about it. Okay. So it's not just about fixing our investment strategy or fixing our tax problem. You got to go deeper than that. You got to take a step further. And sometimes we find that it's so easy to stay stuck in a perception or a reality because that's what you know. For example, think about the elephants at a circus. Think about how they're tied to a stake, old Barnum and Bailey circus, right?
Okay,
You've got
you can see that.
Way back, that's right. Think about the elephant that just circles around. The elephant is one of the strongest animals there are.
Can do anything he wants to do.
It can do whatever it wants to do. But in its mind, it's been conditioned. It's been taught to be bound by that tiny little thread to the stake in the ground. And so that's the reality it's living in. And so that so often happens with folks, with us in our finances, that we have this perception that is our reality, and it's really false. There's nothing really accurate or true about it, but it's what we know or what we've seen, or we don't know anything else outside of that. Therefore, we remain bound. We remained chained to something that is really harmful to us when we could be free from that.
Is this this may be overarching. It may be, hey, I've been doing it my way and it's worked so far. I'd like to just keep doing it my way. Or I've worked with an advisor. He's done pretty well. What's your plan? Well, here's my portfolio. No, what's your plan? I guess what you're saying, Brittany, is maybe we need to change mindset as we start moving into retirement in a different way, that we should be open to new ideas?
Yeah, it's all about perspective, because our perspective becomes our reality many times, right? And so how is that, an issue with us moving forward into retirement? A lot of times it's that accumulation versus distribution mindset that we talk about. A lot of times we've spent a lot of time gathering assets and positioning them in a certain way to where it's only growth focused. Where now we're in retirement, we actually need to withdraw funds. We need to live on what we've saved up. We have to have a different perspective. And a lot of times, well, how do I get a different perspective? I talk with someone else, right? A lot of times I look, I research, I read, and I have a lot of folks that we meet with on a daily basis that are smart, that look outside of themselves even to come up with different perspectives, right? Get married, that'll give you a different perspective, right? Have kids, that'll give you a different perspective. Everything that we walk through in life, it's good to take a hard look at, not just how we've always done it. Great, a lot of people get in the motion of if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But can we make it better, right? Or are you actually in a different place to where you need something different? Maybe you've been in an automobile, in a car, and you've been driving across country, but we can show you how to get in an airplane and get there in a third of the time.
Because,
right?
Because growth mindset isn't just about how quickly can I grow my money.
That's right.
You got to go deeper than that. You got to go backwards. It's how am I actually growing in the way I think about my money. It's being open to understanding new approaches, new concepts, new ways of doing things. Because you know what? There just might be a better way, a more efficient way, or maybe a way that offers you more peace, more ease, right? Along the journey where you don't have to wring your hands and live like this. I mean, there often is a better way when we are open to it.
All right, what you're saying takes us into thriving, not just surviving. I want to get to that, but I also want to point this out because this becomes so important, and I will run this throughout the show because I think this is so important. What Jay and Brittany have put together is a tax calculator that runs through everything because we want you to keep more of your money. And if you haven't understood the taxes are going to be a part of your retirement and maybe the biggest danger, exchangemaitaxbill.com is the calculator that they have put together. You can do this throughout the show. It will run throughout your program because it runs throughout your life that the government wants more of your money. How do we get the government out of your pocket? What is your tax debt? Do you know it? Has anybody talked about it? This will hit the landing page to give you an idea to talk about that, which takes us into thriving and not just surviving, the understanding of our feeling. Man, I've just survived this job for
just
40
barely making
years.
it.
Because none of us want to take a pay cut in our retirement.
Right. And that's the truth. Because the way that we've heard it said a lot is when it comes to an income plan, well, about 70% of your income is what you should have. We call that baloney, right? We do not say 70%. You don't want to take a 30% pay cut walking into retirement. You're going to spend what you're spending right now. And if you retire tomorrow, it doesn't magically cut your budget by 30%, right? You need to know that you have to have 100% of your income going into retirement, number one. But to thrive, not just survive, it's not about just like pulling back and man, now I got to be a pauper. Now I've got to be poor the rest of my life. How do I thrive in this? Well, you set goals. You have a plan. You look at self-care. You embrace the challenges of the future. There's a growth mindset all in that we want to sit down with you and help you create a goal about how we get to a better future in retirement, not just how do I survive retirement and how do I pay the tax bill as it comes and hope that I have enough to pay, but how do we put a tax plan, which is what a tax calculator helps with. How do we put a tax plan together so that we can thrive and keep more money in our pockets for our future? So it's really a thriving mentality that sets goals, that creates plans, and that has a plan for your future.
And is willing to grow.
Yeah.
To say, hey, there may be a better way. I need to be open to learning, to growing. Be a lifelong learner.
Okay, so can we in the next segment get into how we do that growth strategy? I want to do that before. This may be that time. Exchangemaitaxbill.com, that you go to this website. Jay said it before. It takes literally 2 minutes for you to do it. You might be able to do it quicker than that. Do exchangemaitaxbill.com. And then we find solutions for that because it will create something for you that you go, oh my gosh, this is what I'm dealing with. How do we adjust to that? That's how we create this plan that is specific for you because you're not like anybody else. Your retirement plan doesn't look like your neighbor's or somebody at the water cooler. Let's do this for you. Scan the QR code on your screen. Call the number for us for a complimentary plan that is yours. All yours. The Allon Exchange will do that for you right now. And how do we invest going forward? Are there strategies? You bet. We'll be right back.
you have to have a plan. You know, from what I found, we call it the sleep well at night plan, the SWAN plan.
Yeah, a comprehensive plan is extremely important for individuals, families, couples, anyone who is working with their finances. You've got to have more than just an investment.
If we have a plan and know that we can follow step by step a plan that's going to get us to our ultimate goal, we can have trust in that plan to anchor us in those tumultuous times.
And so we're able to really show them, hey, there's all these other things that really come into play.
So it's real important for us to really create those unique plans for people. And it's not just like, well, my neighbor's doing this, so I'm okay.
You got to think about your taxes. You got to think about your health care. You know, you got to think about a number of things that really impact the whole of your financial situation, especially for couples. And we talk about this a lot, that at minimum, both spouses should at least be informed.
Ultimately, we want everyone to not just, be wandering through life and hope that they make it to the goals that they have. We want to put a written step-by-step plan together so that you actually know how to get to those financial goals. Because if you don't have a plan in place to get you through some of those times and you don't have financial security, that's something else that is added to that stress level that can push you overboard.
So glad you're with us on the Allon Exchange. Brad Johansson along with Jay and Brittany Hagy with Allon Planning Partners. Guys, we talked about a little bit about the feelings that move into this. Now we want to go into the growth strategies that go along with that feeling and changing some of our feelings. This probably starts with a big picture rather than going, and I want to get into details, but give me the big picture of how we do that.
Well, when people begin to talk investment strategy, it's not just about this stock over that stock or this investment vehicle over this investment vehicle. You have to choose your investment strategy in light of your overall plan. And so many folks get stuck in the thought that a plan is actually their investment itself.
Sure.
And it's not. An investment is not a financial plan. An investment is a part of the plan, but man, it's really just a fifth, because you got to think of tax planning and income planning, estate planning, healthcare, all of these components that actually make up the plan.
Yeah.
So you cannot choose an investment strategy without looking at or you can, it won't be as effective, right? You want it to be effective. You want it to work in light of everything else going on in your financial picture.
Yeah, so we talked about last segment, how do we thrive? We set plans, we set goals. This is where my passion meter goes up, because I want folks to know most of our industry gets this wrong. Most of our industry starts and stops with investment management. They say your 401k or your IRA or whatever the company is that may be managing that account becomes your financial plan. Couldn't be farther from the truth. Your full financial plan, that's 1/5 is what we look at as your financial plan. Your investment management is very important. How you're positioned, we've talked about it ad nauseum. It's very important, and we're very passionate about that. But it doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world saved up if you don't know how you're going to get to it. You don't have an income plan. You need to make sure that you're not going to run out of money, which is most of our fear buttons, right?
Absolutely.
And so we have to make sure, if we're going to thrive, we have a plan that says, I'm not going to run out of money, and here's why. I have a distribution strategy. Number 3 is tax planning. That's why we started exchangemaitaxbill.com, is because we want folks to see Uncle Sam doesn't have to have the final say on what you get to do with your dollars, right? Now, you've made that commitment as a partner. You do have a partner in your qualified plans. We all do. And it's Uncle Sam. But if you have a qualified plan, you can determine how much of those taxes you're going to pay at what time, and the timing, which is even more important. So an investment management is very important, but you have to have an income plan. You have to have a tax plan. You have to have an estate plan. If something happens to me or I become disabled, I need to know that the way that I position my funds, that my family still thrives, like that they're not put in a place of harm, right? We want to ensure that for our clients, that if something happens, they're disabled, they're deceased, that their families still thrive. They still have a plan moving forward. And last but not least, a healthcare plan. We have a Medicare specialist that comes in and speaks with all of our clients. We want to make sure that you have your health care needs covered, because all of these areas can easily be affected by the other.
Right.
They can be taken out by the other. To truly thrive, you have to have a well-entrenched, deep plan with all 5 of those areas. And that's why my passion level goes up, because Most of our industry misses it. They start with investment management, and you may have a great investment management plan. A lot of times people come in and we're like, okay, there's a few tweaks here or there, but you're missing the bigger picture. Because what happens if? What happens if? What happens if? You want to really thrive? Create a plan.
Let me illustrate it like this, Brad. We were flying recently, and we had some really questionable weather. It was really stormy. Yep, the plane's kind of rocking.
It's been kind of like that all around the country for a while.
It has, that's right. And so we were in the middle of some turbulence, some bad weather, heavy rain. I mean, you could feel it, you could hear it, you could see it, the lightning flashing all around us in the plane. We were just taking off, and we were going through that. We got to the cloud line. I mean, and it was dark. It was it was a nasty storm. It wasn't just like, oh, it's raining a little bit. It was a downpour, lightning, all of it, thunder. Well, we get to the cloud line, and we broke that cloud line, and just like that, the sun's out. The sky's blue. The clouds are white all around us.
Turbulence stops.
I mean, yeah, it's calm. Everything's peaceful. Immediately, everything shifted. And that's exactly how it is with our finances. Our perspective, my perspective in the storm was, man, the whole sky is just stormy and rainy and dreary and awful. But then I broke that cloud, the plane, I broke the cloud cover, and I realized, oh, this is the big picture. This is what's really happening throughout the skyline. So we have to do that with our finances as well. Take that 10,000-foot view in looking at our entire financial situation. If you're just looking at the storm, if you're just looking at the rain, if you're just looking at, this stock versus that stock, and you're fixated on that, you are missing the big picture. Go up a little bit higher and look at the big picture of all of these and how they work together.
What I can promise you, if you are only looking at your investments as your financial plan, you're going to be in that turbulence your whole life.
Yeah.
You're going to feel that rain. You're going to hear that thunder. You're going to feel the bumpy ride the whole time.
If
that's your only portion of your plan that becomes your financial plan, is the what 401k value I have or what IRA value I have, and not in light of the bigger picture that Brittany's talking about, you really are going to have a bumpy ride.
So this goes back to the whole feeling. You're in a moment where all of the things around you are telling you, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
There's lightning. There's rain. I'm turbulent. I'm not going to be okay until I look above. I guess maybe the analogy is, you start telling your money what to do, where I'm going to go for it, because I've now got this multi-pronged plan that oversees all of this, that if this part gets bumpy, then I know that I probably need to go to. What you're doing is putting something together that's comprehensive, rather than, here's my investment plan.
That's right.
Here's the statement for my 401k.
Yeah. That's right.
It's much more
and it brings peace, because when you have a plan, now we have to create fluidity within these plans because life happens. But if you only are focused on your asset management as your plan, which we see a lot of, then that's why you're feeling the angst. That's why you're feeling the dread. That's why you're feeling the volatility and like, oh my goodness, my account balance is here today, it's here, there tomorrow. And you don't have stability in your life, and that's what it creates. Or
you're at the opposite end of the spectrum and oblivious to everything that's going on, and then wham, something crazy happens, and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah. Because I wasn't paying attention.
That's right.
So what you need to be doing is paying attention, and maybe you have never had a plan. Maybe now's the time. Maybe you've been watching. Maybe you've been listening and saying, I probably should call. And maybe that's that time. Call the number on your screen to put together a complimentary plan. Along with that, the Allon Approach. This book is free for you as you come in for a complimentary plan to put that whole thing together. Say, you know what, this is my portfolio, but I've never really had a plan. I've never talked about taxes. ExchangeMyTaxBill.com. That's where you need to go to understand where it is, and that may be the catalyst to take you so that we can get that 10,000-foot view to give you an idea of how we can take you into and through retirement the way you want it to be. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jay Hagy, owner of Allon Planning Partners. Well, you've probably heard a lot about Roth conversions lately. First of all, what are they? And second of all, how could they benefit you? A Roth conversion means getting your money out of those tax-deferred accounts like 401ks and traditional IRAs where you've been kicking the tax can down the road for so many years. But really, the question should be, is kicking it down the road really in your best interest? You have a partner in those deferred accounts. It's Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam is going to take his cut from every dime that grows in that account when you decide to take it out. So let's give Uncle Sam the boot from those retirement accounts and let every penny of future growth be tax-free. Well, with the highest national debt we've ever seen, taxes are not likely to decrease anytime soon, placing a giant tax bullseye on your back. So a Roth conversion is getting your money out of those tax-deferred accounts, paying the taxes now while they're on sale, by the way, and then getting them into accounts where your future dollars can grow tax-free the rest of your life. To experience this tax-free retirement, you do need to sit down with a fiduciary, someone who specializes in retirement planning. So just call the number you see here or scan the QR code and let us help remove that tax bullseye off of your back.
And that's the spot. ExchangeMyTaxBill.com is the spot that you can go to do that. We're so glad you're with us on the Allon Exchange. Brad Johansson along with Jane Brittany Hagy, and we're talking about the feelings, the moving into those feelings. How do we adjust some of those feelings? Getting our high approach, trying to put together a plan. Okay, if we go back to investments, how do we do that? Because we want growth. Even in retirement, we want growth. So how do you lead us into that, Brittany?
Well, you don't want to stop growing. Like you said, you don't want to stop growing in retirement. It's not just this, all right, set it and we're done, we've amassed, we've grown. No, we all want to continue to see those assets grow, to put to work what we've spent our whole life accumulating. So I think Jay wants to go into how we do this. So there's a really specific approach as to how we do that when it comes to different assets.
And we talked about last segment a lot of volatility around this. If you're only looking at your investment management plan as your financial plan, you've got a lot of volatility. But even within that sector, the investment management sector, if you're not well diversified, if you do not have a plan that's positioned for you and your circumstance, you're going to feel the volatility. You're going to feel the turbulence. Warren Buffett, again, he says it very easy. Investing is simple. It's simple, right? Like, it's simple, but it's not easy. That's the whole point. The reason that it's simple is because we only have 5 asset classes that we can invest in. It's very simple. We can either put our money in cash, we can put it in real estate, whether it's our home or an investment property. We can put it in equities in companies, which are stocks. We can put it in bonds, whether that's treasury bonds or bonds of a company to get paid debt on, or commodities, which are things like oil and wheat and gold and silver and crypto, these kind of things, right? We have one of 5 asset classes, so it's pretty simple. It's like pick one, pick a couple, pick 3. But it's not easy because money is always moving. It's always moving from one sector to the other, and there's ups and downs and ins and outs of all of them. How are you planted in each of those 5 asset classes to make sure you have true diversification? And that's what we help folks determine. Where are you at in your life? What goals do you have? When do you want to retire? Are you retired? How should you be diversified amongst these asset classes to get to the goals that you want, right?
I guess, and part of what you're saying is, you know, we've had for decades, and you can go back to Warren Buffett talking about some of this, but decades of people saying, well, 60-40 is the way to go, or this is the way to go, meaning everybody in America should have the same plan because this works. To your point, it's simple, but it's not easy. So adjusting individually becomes significant.
Very customized approach, absolutely. And not just per individual or household, but per stage of life. As you go throughout life and how it ebbs and flows and should shift during different seasons. You know, and I mean, when you're looking at how your assets are positioned, correlation is a big deal. Talking about diversification, if you're not familiar with what correlation means, it's how your assets are moving in relation to one another. So diversification provides some offset, right? If your assets are highly correlated, that means they're all going in the same direction at the same time, which is really great when they're going up. But when things are going down, you're hit really hard.
I was talking to a client last week about this Warren Buffett quote, saying it's simple, it's not easy, right? Investing. And he looked at me and he said, well, am I invested the way Warren Buffett is? To your point, no, you're not. And I simply turned around and asked him, How many $1 billion do you have?
Yes.
Do you have $100 billion? Like Warren Buffett's invested in the way that he is because of his individual companies and his plans and
Yes.
things like this. You have to be on your individual plan, what you've amassed, where you're at, whether you're close to retirement, in retirement, what are your needs are, what your goals are. So you have to have an individualized plan. These blanket approaches do not work. It's not a one-stop fix-all.
Can I come back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, which is not just surviving, but thriving in doing this. And thriving isn't, again, setting a plan and forgetting it, especially when the runway becomes short. To go back to our airplane story again, our runway is now short to try and finish this up. So adjusting all of the time. When's the last time you talked to your advisor? Well, I don't know. He hasn't called me. Maybe that's the time where you go, you know what? I need somebody who has a relationship with me to try and figure out how this plan is going to be adjusted. And that may be multiple times a year, correct?
Right. This whole planning strategy really is fluid, and it's ever evolving, changing. It's changing with your life. It's changing with what you experience. It's changing with your income needs. Maybe you receive an inheritance, or maybe you have a spouse pass away, or maybe you have a child who's getting married. Whatever the situation you're experiencing, it's going to impact your plan. So yes, consistently going back through, looking periodically, okay, what's changed? Is this still working? Do I need to make a few tweaks here to ensure that I'm staying where I need to be?
Yeah.
It is a consistent process. So yes, Brad, it's not a one and done. It's a consistent process, ever evolving, ever,
And you need to
like
have
we
a
talked about, being
relationship
fluid.
with whoever is giving you that advice.
Right.
I'm so glad you guys are there to be able to do this for so many people. At this point, why aren't you calling? Call the number on your screen. Set up a complimentary appointment to put together a plan that is just for your needs. This is what they do all of the time at Allon Planning Partners, is try and figure out how to make your retirement great the way you want it to be. We're so grateful that you spend time with us all the time on the Allon Exchange, and we're looking forward to sitting down with you and creating a relationship that lasts until your last breath. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time here. Can't wait to see you in the office.